Hello everybody, my name is Frederick Krasey. I'm from FKC Health, and our speciality is interviewing top professionals in the health industry. And today I have with me Anthony Salomon. And Anthony is an amazing personal trainer with a difference. He does his profession proud. I've been associated with Anthony for a couple of years now, and the areas that Anthony has worked with me have worked some miracles in my posture and certain injuries that I've interfaced with. So Anthony, tell us a little bit about yourself so that people know who we're talking to.
So my name's Anthony. So I've been a personal trainer for the last 6 years. Finished my Cert 3 and Cert 4 in personal training in 2014. And pretty much around this time this year, pretty much got a gig, my first gig as a personal trainer at Fit and Fast. And then pretty much for the last 6 years, I've been associated and obviously working at Fit and Fast. That's now known as City Fitness with my PT.
Mm-hmm. And you also run under a personal brand of your own? What's the name of your personal brand?
So my personal training business is called 3 Elements Fitness.
Mm-hmm.
So I do majority of my work at obviously Fit and Fast, what it was now City Fitness, with a bit of work outside of obviously that gym setting at home as well.
Mm-hmm. And how has COVID impacted you lately?
To be honest, it's been a bit of a headache. I think it's been a headache for pretty much everyone, and most injuries or industries in general, I think, have been affected by it. Look, the luxury with us though is I think we've got a lot more avenues that we can still continue with our work. Obviously, we can go into an online platform. Luckily enough, with the last bit of restrictions, we can now actually do some outdoor stuff. So it's compromised us a bit, but again, we just got to adapt. Like I said, the exercises we can do, like I said, different location, but like I said, we can still do the work.
Cool. Well, one of the reasons I invited you onto this platform is to talk about posture correction and the importance of being aware of posture and how it influences exercises. Because I myself, aside from coming to you quite unfit and a little bit bent and broken all those years ago, I had the challenge from family history of kyphosis, a huge curvature of the spine and deformity of my legs and knees, and with the way my feet are formed, it's transferred a lot of injury and discomfort to my body. So perhaps you'd like to talk about what your speciality is and what posture correction can do for someone.
So with my specialties, one of the areas obviously was postural correctness was one of the specialties I was obviously under. Again, a couple of other specialties, obviously sports background, as well, obviously some powerlifting as well. So there was a couple of different areas I was working at, but the one that I sort of probably currently use a lot more at the moment is more the postural correctness. And well, thinking back, it was about 3 years ago around this time, I think we probably first had our first interaction, that first training session. And look, I said, it's very fair to say, Freddie, from where you were to where you are now, like I said, you look like a completely different person. And look, I said, had a couple of issues in terms of your posture, mainly through your upper body. Obviously, when I first saw you, I think had rounded shoulders, and I think we had discussed that you'd obviously worked an office job for quite a while of your life, which again, net effect had a bit of effect. And look, throughout those 3 years, worked in those areas, and like I said, looking at you now, again, you look like a completely different person with a couple of extra inches on you, just for actually getting your back a lot more straighter.
Yeah, it did alter my height, my gait, and aside from the upper body, like I got a shock the other day. I did some videos to present to our viewers in the area of what I thought was simple exercises, and I didn't realize for my age group some of those exercises will be challenging for others. So we're going to reshoot that video and dumb it down a bit. But you also worked on a lot of work in correcting my foot position and the way my legs were carrying. And I'd just like to tell you that in addition to the work you did in getting me to twist the feet in and point straight ahead instead of like duck feet and all the rest of it, I went to a podiatrist recently and I got orthotics and I got some Brooks wider girth runners. oh my God, what a difference. I'm actually running now. After all these years, I'm running. I did 25 50-meter sprints today. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was over a 10-kilometer walk. So
Yeah.
I did the HIIT thing, and I surprised myself because I can't remember in the last 10 years ever being able to do that before. So things are still changing, but how much more efficient does your body become with better posture?
Oh, massively. It makes a massive difference. You look probably an example of maybe like a shopping trolley that you go to when you go to Coles and Woolies. I think at times we do get that dodgy trolley that has one wheel facing the opposite direction where you want to go. And like I said, it speaks for itself. If one thing's slightly off, it affects the whole movement and the whole trolley, how you move practically around the shop or around your supermarkets. And it's a vice versa. It's the same thing with your body as well. Again, if something's slightly out, it just makes that a little bit harder to get that movement right. And again, the net effect is you might actually feel it in an area more than what you're not meant to. And the area that obviously that should be doing the most of the work, again, just doesn't quite fire as well. So I said, you got that slight discrepancy. It does make the movement a lot harder. And like I said, the net effect is if you've got a better posture and you've got that evenness between your body, like I said, it just makes the movement so much easier.
Well, one of the funny things that I think back now is all the work you did for me. I think we spent as much as even 9 months just working on those deadlifts to get my posture right. And you're taking GoPro or photos from the side with my phone and back and forwards. And then I had the same issues with Jake and Adam, and the three of you just hammered me. I can now do a good deadlift, instead of it going in a triangle, it's vertical deadlift, and I've got it over the insteps of my feet, and I know the snap. And it's amazing that people don't realize. You just walk into a gym and see a personal trainer who's maybe had 6 months, 6 weeks training, and they don't know. And they say, oh, this is a deadlift, or this is a complex exercise. And a lot of personal trainers are operating outside their scope. And what I found with you, an amazing benefit, is I never felt you lead me into an exercise ever that caused an injury or a setback. And I've got a history of getting in the gym for a year or two or a year and a half, bang, injury out, back 5 years later, cyclically. This time, from the time I started 3 years, zero, no injuries, and improvements all the way. So certainly from your training of real specificity around technique, you're a real stickler for getting it right. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a learning thing. I think it falls under the learning thing. Like I said, that's probably half the reason why I tend to really get really specific, try and sort of nail down in certain areas just as an education point and a learning point. Because as a trainer, you have all the ideas, but at the end of the day it's someone doing the exercises. So you need to be able to transfer that input, that knowledge onto and through to that person. So then see when what you're trying to teach them, you're hopefully trying to get out of that person. So when it comes to the specificity with an exercise, it's just making sure what you're teaching them, they understand. And at the end of the day, if they can actually understand the movement, understand the exercise, it makes it a lot easier for them to perform and execute that exercise. Like I said, it comes over practice and time. And the more you practice it, the more you feel confident with it. And like I said, when you get your confidence up, the sky's the limit. And then, like I said, that's when the weights start increasing, your form increases. So it's sort of like a chain reaction that sort of builds from the start and then obviously then follows through, obviously, to the exercise itself and obviously trying to improve and master that.
I noticed that when you were training me, you really got me to reach in deeply for my own answers, and you waited patiently for those answers until I got it, rather than just saying, do this, do that, that's how it's done. You really, you exercised my physiology and my physique through training, but you exercised my mindset as well. So I was thinking in a turn that I could take this learning away from me. That's another thing a lot of people are codependent on their personal trainers. I feel the reason I kept coming back to you, and I still do, and I will when the COVID lifts, is because you're that far ahead and you've got a lot to offer. But I also feel you impart, and you don't leave people codependent, which is a brilliant part of your service. So with training with a purpose in mind that will last and improve your physiology, what sort of tips you can offer the listeners to take on board out of what I just said and what we do?
I think the biggest thing is probably not to get too focused or too tunnel vision on that end goal. I think that's, again, out of the 6 years of experience I've had, I think that's probably one of the biggest areas I think a lot of clients sort of fall into, is they just get stuck with that end goal and just sort of that linear, one-dimensional thinking where it's just, that's the only thing I want to do. That's the one thing I want to achieve. I think the moment your mindset gets stuck onto that, you completely forget about the steps and the process in the middle. And that's where you'll see a lot of people lack. So that motivation tends to drop off quite a fair bit in that sort of period. And
is that because they're not getting their goals or their outcomes, which are set unrealistically in relation to a time frame?
I think it's more of a patience thing.
Yeah.
I think patience is mainly the big thing that probably contributes to that. And like I said, you tend to forget about the things that happen along the way and those sort of mini milestones that happen along the way, which if you can set things up and set your goals up, so you've got those sort of milestone achievements, you sort of can see the gradual improvement. And like I said, you don't get stuck between the start and the end. You sort of see what happens in the middle to get you to that end result. And then by the time you get to that end result, you end up realizing just how much more stuff you've actually achieved. And like I said, it just expands that sort of obviously that goal setting a bit more and that goal achievement. But you said you end up actually adding more achievements to it.
Well, in my case, I guess I have gone through that in my youth of setting the goals and the achievements. And even recently, I tried to do 72 push-ups in 5 minutes. I achieved it, but I threw my shoulder out. No more push-ups for a while. But that's okay. You know, it's still immature at 68 or whatever. But I noticed that my father, he was keen swimmer when he was young. And I always wondered, the war got in the way and marriage, kids, cat, dog, mortgage, the whole catastrophe. So he met someone from the war years who'd started up an RSL swimming club at 45. Now, when he was young, 17, 18, 19, he was set for the Olympics and the Victorian swimming team and all the whole box and dice. And then he hadn't swum in any competitive way or to further his happiness around that until he got to about 40, 45. He swam for the next 50 years. And they say a good guitarist can't leave his guitar alone. A good photographer can't leave his camera alone. So I started to drop all the goals and decided the goal was to enjoy exercise and being well. And then all those other things took on a different perspective, and I was no longer getting disappointed because I realized it was a journey that I'd chosen for life. And I think that's what my father must have done. He said, I like this swimming. I like the swimming club and the social aspect of it. No one had to force him to go down the pool, and no one's forcing me anymore to do any of my routines. Now, prior to this time around, the last 3 years, people have had to force me, and I have had to motivate myself with the pain and pleasure stick and the moving away from values. So how we apply these things as goals and outcomes become lifelong habits that give us amazing results. So tell me about some of the habits that you feel that might benefit some of our viewers.
I think routine, is one thing. Having a consistent routine and actually probably a balance as well in that routine. Like I said, most people, again, it's not just gym work. I think there's a lot of other things that get thrown into the mix through people's days and through people's weeks. So I think it's just being able to find that nice balance and not get into that point where you overcommit to one area and undercommit to another. Because as I said, when you get to that sort of that stage, then you start on the refocus sort of what you want out of them. And you said the likelihood is you can sort of drop off through that underperforming or that area where you're sort of not focused into. I think that's the big thing. Just find that balanced routine. Like me recently, I said I've got a little one who's now 10 months in a couple of days. And being able to actually still be a husband, still be a dad, still being able to work. It's trying to find that sweet spot in the middle where you can sort of balance that all together, where you still have that enjoyment with every single one of them, but you can still put in the same amount of effort as well into all those different areas.
Absolutely. There's no point going for a goal at the sacrifice of your family and sacrifice of the love that you want, because I've seen so many people get success, but the end result is the cost was too high. And it is really cool. So what sort of advice could you give to the listeners if they want to turn their lives around to health? And as you know, I'm geared towards mature age people, because I know the youngies can get away with a bit for a while, but eventually it catches up with them. But the decisions to be where I am today took place when I was your age, and I did make good decisions about my health, and I never got involved in addictions or excesses. I had my fun along with everyone else, but I never got to the point where I personally damaged myself. And I think if you can set up the habits at a young age, you're going to travel well older. You know, given fair genes and fair luck from life. But if you don't have those habits and you don't make those commitments young, you'll get to the conveyor belt at the end. It'll be too late to turn it around. So what sort of tips could you give people in that area as far as setting themselves up to win for the future?
Like I said, probably just trying something different rather than sort of going for the mainstream, any mainstream idea. Like I said, try something different and try and find things that actually suit you. I think that's the hard thing when you're trying to balance a day, is you can sort of get caught up with that sort of traditional 9 to 5 and try and sort of mold things either side of it. There's nothing saying that you can't try and do something in between that 9 to 5. Like I said, everyone's got a break between those hours. So you can sort of fit that one extra thing in just to break up your day. At least the good news is if you get it done between then, you don't have to worry about it afterwards, which then means you have that sort of time to set focus on those other areas as well, whether or not it be family, friends, sporting, social clubs. You've still got that area to sort of, like I said, have access to it and still participate and still enjoy it, rather than sort of get in that sort of real structured scenario where if you miss one thing, it sort of throws everything out of whack. So I think if you've got this, that flexibility is probably another big thing to come out of it. Give yourself that bit of flexibility. If you miss one, like I said, if you miss that one appointment or that set time that you were meant to do something, that's not the end of the world. You still have the week. Again, it's funny that you say 24 hours is a short time, but it's what you do in that 24 hours makes it a short or long time. So I said, it's whatever purpose you put in that 24 hours, again, world's at your disposal. I said, you make it how you want to make it.
That's cool, because I remember when I worked for the NAB, the big national bank, I was at 700 Burke and they had 14 flights of stairs, 14 floors. And sometimes the game was not to get in the elevator, but to pace yourself up those steps pretty quickly. I was on the 9th floor, so from the ground to 9th floor, going up and going down, I would have done that out of the 5 days, maybe 3 at a regular basis. I didn't do it 5 days a week, but 3 days a week, 2 to 3, I was up and down those stairs, and that was breaking my day up a bit. Going for walks at lunchtime, things like that, and looking at, I notice a lot of people find little routines that they can embellish their life and get stuff happening. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So tell me, what would you like our listeners to walk away with from this interview, to take away? What sort of things?
I think, like we probably discussed there, I think exercise and physical activity, they don't have to be in a gym scenario. again, I think we all tend to get a bit carried away that a gym scenario is a certain space that you have to do your exercise in. Look, especially now in COVID, like unfortunately gyms are closed. So your main avenue that you would have previously have been at for your exercise is practically gone. So now I think it's just adapting to that sort of different areas, and again, adapting to obviously the environment that you're in, where you can actually exercise. So obviously when it comes back to times when gyms open, if you do get stuck sort of in that busy lifestyle again, even if you give yourself that short little break, just do some form of exercise that doesn't have to be in the gym, it's still exercise that contributes to also that overall gain that you're sort of achieving or building towards and trying to achieve. And obviously on top of that, is like we talked about, even with your exercise, not becoming dependent on your personal trainer. At the end of the day, is your personal trainers are there to help you. They're there to sort of give you the information, provide the information for you. But it comes to the point where that information is for you to learn, so you become self-dependent. And we just said, and then what we then do is then try and continue that cycle where we continue to try and provide more information that only helps you, obviously our clients, become obviously not only better with their exercise in terms of execution and performance, but obviously have that self-awareness and that sort of self-education where they end up becoming and obviously better at what they do, and obviously provide a better output with their exercise and obviously their fitness goals.
Yeah, I know in my own case, I've done extensive study on health and nutrition, and been dealing with a whole team of health professionals to lift my game, such as chiropractors, Pilates instructors, swimming, running. The list is probably a holistic health coach, naturopath, because what I realized is holistically, everything we do and we're involved in really impacts our health. And if we're not hydrating, if we're not sleeping, if we're not exercising, and if we're not got the right nutrition, now who's going to be there to police that? Your personal trainer's got you for an hour. He'll give you a few exercises. He'll give you some health tips. But the rest is up to you. It's a journey of self-discovery. I mean, it's like I went into a hospital once. I was a musical therapist in one of my past lives. And I was playing guitar, and the woman said to me, "Oh my God, I'd give anything to play like that." And I said, "No, I don't think so." I was a bit cruel. I said, "I don't think so." She said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, I played for 12, 13 years, and I put in 8, 9, 10 hours a day. That's what you need to play like this. Would you give that to do it?" I'm sure you could. You got to start and put it in. And I guess it comes down, if I do the exercises, will you get fit? So it's personal responsibility. I think it's the responsibility of a personal trainer to transfer that responsibility to their client so that they take responsibility for their health. So you're motivational, inspirational, directional, and scientific evidence-based correction so that that person can achieve the result. So what would you like the listeners to do about listening to us and have them do in the future for their own selves?
I think like you just said, it's being able to, I think with obviously with your journey where you obviously see a lot of different people from obviously different health areas, I think it's being able to take the things that suit you, but the best ideas that you can take, that you can sort of then bring towards you. And obviously what you do with that information to help benefit you, again, it's completely up to you. Like I said, it's almost like drawing in all the good information to sort of help you build something. And it's the same as probably when you do go back to uni with obviously your research with uni projects or uni assignments. You go through numerous amount of resources to try and pick the best information to help you with your assignment. It's the same thing with our health. We can obviously go through Google or search different areas or read different magazines and try and take the best information that we can take in order to try and best improve ourselves. It's almost like that filter, especially with, like, you can use an example with your car. You try and put all the best products in it to obviously try and make it run as best as possible. So I think it's the same scenario as us as individuals when it comes to our health. I think not only with personal training, but again, you've obviously got your other allied health professionals like masseuses, chiropractors, physiotherapists. Again, just aligning yourself with the best individuals to help with obviously what you want to fulfill, not only with your physical activity, but out of life itself. I said, just trying to find that best contribution. And like I said, you might not get it right for the first time, but like I said, just being willing to try and align yourself, or be willing just to sort of step out of that comfort zone to try and further improve yourself.
Well, I know that I find you priceless in my health regime, and will continue, and that this is just early days for us. And I notice with Jake and Adam with the exercise physiology and the holistic health coaching, I can't do without any of them, because I've begun the journey in health. I really enjoy it. I've been involved in technology a lot in my life, and I've had a lot of hobbies and interests. But to find the dynamics of the human body and to realize how you can turn diabetes type 2 around, you can change postural correctness. There's so many things you can do. And someone said, oh, I don't want to live forever. And I said, well, it's not about that. It's just that at 68, I can still do the things I could do at 30. I can still go on all the adventures and holidays and activities. I can enjoy my life. And I'm looking forward to each day to get involved and go out and play in the playgrounds like everyone else. I'm still 15 at heart. So look, how can people get in touch with you, Anthony? You're a powerful wealth and resource of personal training, and I think you're an elite personal trainer, and you put personal training on a different level than the average gym junkie personal trainer, because I know maturity is a big thing with this game of getting healthy, because a lot of people are looking at their muscles and their body and their physique, and they're worried about what they can lift compared to someone else. It's all irrelevant. It's like golf. It's up to you. So how can people find you? Where would they go to find you?
So just the business name, 3 Elements Fitness.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in this process of just getting a website back up and running again. So it'll be 3elementsfitness.com, or you can just contact me via mobile on 0427 863 484, or even send an email at 3elementsfitness@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, I hope I can help you on our digital side, because we have a strong digital platform as well, and I can help you with that website information to get it up and running real quick. Well, thanks very much for coming on the show, Anthony. And to the listeners out there, this is a man who's put hours and hours and hours into my life. And the difference he made to me is, if I give you the stats, from the time I met Anthony to about 18 months in, I was able to swim 3 kilometers. I started out swimming 2 laps. I was able to deadlift up to 100 kilos. I started out with the bar. I was able to use the rowing machine for half an hour. A lot of things changed for me. I lost just on at one stage 14 kilo, but that reversed itself and I put back on muscle. And instead of just losing weight, I changed my body composition. And the real thing that I owe to you and the others that have helped me, so I'm giving everybody the credit and myself, is the ankle pain's gone, the knee pain's gone, the back pain and the shoulder pain. I've still got about 5% in the right shoulder, and I've got about 10% in the right knee. But as for the rest of the body, I was dragging my sorry butt through life in extreme pain. So I can't enforce enough on people how valuable exercise and training is to mature age people, because lifting those weights builds bone density and bone mineral content, which is important for mature age people. And it also helps people with their ATP and longevity to have that muscle mass. Muscle mass is so important for mature age people. So thanks for that, Anthony. And we'll catch you around for another one down the track when we've got some more to say. But I really appreciate that.
No worries. Pleasure.